What's the deal, family? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got another banger for y'all, man. So look, we got South Africa versus New Zealand. John Smit breaks down the Rugby World Cup final. Kerry about to run this up one time for the one time, man. And this is brought to us by Rugby Pass. Shouts out to them, bro. I did react to a bunch of Rugby Pass videos last year, and then I kind of fell off, but I think I might bring some back, man, because they always got just different, interesting stuff that other rugby channels aren't necessarily bringing. They bring more interesting stuff that's not just the compilations and all that, but other little cool things that I figure is cool, man. So definitely go check out Rugby Pass, man, because they've always brought some cool, interesting stuff that's different from what everybody else brings in terms of rugby. So go check them out, man. But anyways, for this video, it says Springboks legend John Smit joins Jim Hamilton in Paris to talk through the upcoming Rugby World Cup final between South Africa and New Zealand at the Stade, I think it's Stade de France. Stade de France or something like that on Saturday. Yeah, so we're going to check out this video, and then I'm going to talk about this this poll I posted. 4.1 thousand votes. 45% of y'all, and this is, I just refreshed this. 45% of you guys got New Zealand. 55% of y'all got South Africa. We also got 53 comments. If you guys want to stick around to the end, I'm going to just scroll through the comments, just see what's going on, man. It might bring y'all closer together than it brings y'all farther apart. We got All Blacks fans picking Springboks, Springboks fans picking All Blacks, man. There's a lot going on in the comments, so I'm going to read those at the very end if you guys want to stick around for that. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Patreon. We got over 100 subscribers. I will be dropping a video today as well. About the giveaway details and all that. So make sure to get up over on the Patreon because I will be doing the giveaway. Even though I'll put the details on YouTube too, just letting y'all know. Get up over on the Patreon. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, let's get into this video, man.
The great John Smit, 2007 World Cup winning captain. Hello.
Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm very good. Did you World Cup winning captain? The great John Smit, 2007 World Cup winning captain. Hello.
Hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm very good. Did you genuinely think before the tournament started that your South African team would be in the final yet again, in a position to win 4 World Cups and go back? Would be in the final yet again, in a position.
Jim Hamilton, that's this guy right here. 0 wins and 5 losses against South Africa.
South African team would be in the final yet again, in a position to win 4 World Cups and go back to back.
I knew they had built themselves up to being a team that could go back to back, but then you look at the pathway of what it would take for them to get there, and there's a lot. They had to play. It wasn't really an easy fixture. So, I mean, you take it Saturday is the 6th team in the top 6 that they've played. And they really have been incredible the last 2 weekends at an intensity level that's massive. But I did call them into the final. And I called the All Blacks as well, but purely just to irritate all the Northern Hemisphere guys. I didn't think that they actually would get there.
The last lap as well.
It is, for us, the ultimate final to play. We haven't played a final like this since '95.
Yeah.
If you didn't catch that, you basically just said Northern Hemisphere ain't doing that. he's like, bro, we in the Southern Hemisphere. We gonna make it, obviously. I don't care who they got up north. They not making it. Come on, dog. Hey, he said it, not me. He said it, not me. I'm just relaying the information.
Iconic, 95.
Exactly, yes. And 95 was a pretty special day for South Africa, let alone the Springbok team. So, and we've seen how much the Springboks' effect on South Africa has escalated over the years. And I think purely just because the team's transformed as well. You know, we've come from a difficult period in pre-95 into now it's a team led for the first time by a black African, Siya Kolisi, with our stars being of all shapes and sizes and colors and languages and cultures and religions. So it's a game that is followed by so many more now today in South Africa than it was back in '95.
Let's go back and talk about how difficult this run to the final, this road to the final has been for
Yeah.
South Africa. Is this the hardest path any team has had to the final?
Without a doubt. And should they go and
I think so too. I mean, like when we were looking at it, their group, they were in Group B, right? Come on, they're in Group B with Ireland, dog. Not only do they got Ireland, I think they got the best third team out of all the other groups, which is, I think it was Italy, or was it Argentina? Damn. All right, I'm having trouble remembering. I think it was Italy though. But I could be wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure whoever was the third team that was also a part of that, I feel like was the best third team to be a part of that. Like if you had your top three teams, I feel like that top three would be better than any of the other top threes from all the other groups. Personally. So I feel like that alone, and then also having to come back again and then play France for the quarterfinal is like, nah, dog, come on, we not trying to do this. That's a tough path. And then in the semis, you got to face England. It's like, dog, come on, bro. So I believe they have the toughest path comparison to any other teams.
and go the distance and win and be back-to-back winners. I don't think you could orchestrate a more difficult pathway. You've just touched on it, but that's sort of my worry about this weekend is, can they get there 3 weekends in a row to that intensity, that kind of physicality? The All Blacks had an even easier runabout on the weekend and an extra day of recovery. So those are the things that do worry me around South Africa. But every time, and I guess I'm always nervous because I'm an ex-player and of how much it means to us, but every time you doubt these guys, they just find something. They come up with something. Sia and that team is just a bit incredibly good at delivering when it counts most. So I'm biased, but it's very hard to write them off, no matter how difficult the situation is.
Just give people a sense of the emotional build up to these games. Can you just explain what it means, like, to get to that emotional level and how difficult it is to do it week on week and what South Africa had to do?
So I reckon the only way to really make people understand is it's like the Hunger Games. We start off with 20 and it's life and death. And it's not like that. That is not the reality, but it is our reality as players, Jim. When you get into a World Cup, you start with 20 and you literally have to kill off everyone around you. And so the way you do that from an emotional point of view or a physical point of view differs, but for South Africa, we are, I would guess, that brutally big physical opponent that's going to smash and thump every competitor in the Hunger Games until they go away. That's the only way we really get to the top. And now to reach that emotionally is every Saturday or every Friday or every Sunday, you've got to come up with that same mentality, that same emotional commitment to all the narratives that follow a Springbok all over the place. It's about how much it means not just to the team. Actually, the team becomes and the team's ambitions actually feature very little in a Springbok's motivation during a weekend. It's all about families and what they've sacrificed, people and what they don't have and what they go through back home, and then the hope of what that victory brings. And so there's quite a huge amount on your shoulders. I mean, people always ask me what was my emotional state when the whistle went in 2007. I was relieved. Honestly, I couldn't be happy. I mean, Alan Rolon was the first guy there. I hugged him. It didn't look good. I hugged the referee. But I was unbelievably relieved that the weight of the world, which it felt like at the time, had come off my shoulders because we'd managed to pull it through.
Rugby is life in your country.
It is life. And I can tell you, it's a borderline cult. And I'll say it openly and proudly. I mean, our South African supporters are of the worst in the world. They're unbelievably brash winners and unbelievably miserable losers. But purely because the only way to explain it is if you've got some experience of South Africa, the most beautiful place to live. There's yet so much that's going wrong, and load shedding and lack of water and all crime and all sorts of things. So you deal with these challenges all the time. But on Saturday at 3 p.m. or 5 p.m., you get to open up a beer or a brandy and just enjoy what has been one of the best teams in the world for the last 5 years, hopefully beating another nation that has so much more than what we've got.
Okay, I'm glad he kind of said that because I was thinking it and I wanted to pause for like the last minute or two, but I just couldn't find the right time. But in my head, I was thinking like South Africa is like, let's say if New Zealand and South Africa are brothers, right? They're brothers. But you got the one brother that grew up with moms, right? Parents separate. You got the mother that grew up with moms, you got the mother that grew up with dad, right? The mother that grew up with dad, right? A little more hard nose. A little bit more hard nose. A little bit rougher around the edges, right? Had to earn everything that they got. It wasn't given to them. They had to literally earn every piece. Why? Because mom makes more money than dad. That's why they separated. Mom makes more money than dad, so they separated, right? Even though dad maybe has a bigger presence or this or that, right? They had to separate because mom was successful, dad was not. One child goes with dad, one child goes with moms, right? The child with moms lives a beautiful, lavish life. Got money in the pocket, got the new car, don't even got the license yet, but already got the new car, right? Just is loved by everybody. The family loves them. They get invited to the reunions, right? It's just, but they still doing their thing. Like they working. That the kid that was with moms is still successful. Still works hard for their success and all that. It's not just purely handed to them. They still gotta work for it, right? But just how everybody else sees it, there's just a little bit more love. They're the white sheep. Then you got the black sheep. And that's the one that's with father. The mom's got money. She gets invited to places more. She pays for people's stuff. So everybody loves her more. Everybody shows her more love and respect and all this and all that. Right? But Pops, the kid that was raised with Pops, he had to really thug it out. He's just as successful. Just as successful. Nobody else, in terms of anybody else in the family, is touching neither of these two. They the ones, but they just grew up completely opposite, right? So he had to earn it all, work for it, earn it through the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, and all that. And things still ain't perfect. They still ain't perfect, but we still made sure to achieve success. And now we gotta help more people along the way. I feel like that's a similar comparison to the New Zealand versus South Africa in terms of rugby. Y'all let me know if I'm overreaching with that, or if that's let me know if that's a reach or if that kind of falls in line with, what this guy's saying and kind of what I'm thinking and have been thinking for a while. But when you break it down like that, to me it makes perfect sense. Like you just got the one kid that had to thug it out. Dug it out for real, but still made it to the top. Yeah, the other one, they got a little bit more handouts, but still made it to the top, and they both had to work hard to get there. Just the backgrounds that they come from are a little bit different. Y'all let me know how you feel about that.
And for 2 or 3 days after that, you float above all the mayhem.
Would you say the All Blacks are the best team to have ever played rugby? When you look at their record, 3 World Cups, I think I saw something. They'd won 20 championships. What was Tri-Nations? Yeah. The best team ever?
Absolutely. And I tell you why I say that with confidence is because Andy Ellis asked me around what makes this rivalry. And Victor actually answered the question. He said, it's because they're the one team that beat us more than anyone else. And that's what makes it count. If you take the last 20 years and you look at the world rankings, who's held number 1 position for the most? It's easily New Zealand as well.
Do you have that relationship after that respect?
I think that's the most beautiful thing about this rivalry is that we smash each other for 80 minutes. And they're the first team that'll come into the change room, take a beer, swap shirts, sit down, catch up, talk about your family, see what's happening. They really are incredible in every sense. And the easiest blokes to get on. You've interviewed hundreds of them and you've come across them, Jim. It's almost weird. And I think people probably see South Africans in a similar way, but you see a South African play a game of rugby and you think that he was built for violent crime. And then
Animals.
you meet him, and he's got the smile, and he's keen to buy you a beer and catch up and ask what's going on. And the All Blacks are exactly the same. They play this ice-cold, attacking, beautiful game of rugby that is ruthless. And yet the nicest guys that are soft-spoken, humble off the field. And I think that's where the respect comes, is that we really go hammer and tong for 80 minutes, but it's the way we treat each other afterwards that's a complete contrast to the 80 minutes of rugby, which I think makes the difference between this rivalry.
If you win at the weekend, does that shift from the All Blacks being the greatest team to South Africa being the greatest team? Does having that number 4 World Cup, having gone back to back like the All Blacks did in 2011, 2015, does that give you that mantle of
It can't.
the Springboks are the greatest?
Another world title certainly doesn't make us have more weeks at number 1 over the last 20 years, but it does. Whoever takes that 4th title on the weekend does get to hold on to that mantle for a while. It is something special. It's certainly something the guys want to chase, and it will make a massive difference.
Sam Whitelock, he will go down as maybe the greatest, but 3 World Cups. Imagine.
Yeah, that is some feat, because I think people don't understand what it's like to get to 50 tests, let alone 150 odd tests. And so
For the All Blacks as
for
well.
the
It's
All
not as if
Blacks,
it's.
yeah, it's not
no
like he's up
disrespect.
against mediocre. I mean, there was a lovely clip. I think it was a Crusaders.
Do y'all agree with that? If they go to the World Cup, whether they win or lose, does he become the greatest All Black ever, just because of longevity? Y'all, let me know how you feel about that. Let me know in the comments, because yeah, he's made some great plays that I've seen, but does that make him the greatest purely based on longevity and World Cup appearances? If so, let me know in the comments. Let me know, man. Let me know.
This clip that he did, saying, "I'm going to help you," to the new guys coming into the team, but I'm not going to give you my shirt easily. You know, and I think that's sort of what makes a great player. They mentor, they put their arm around youngsters, but they don't give up easy.
Outside looking in, how important is Rassie
Yeah.
to the Springbok team?
Look, I think he does have a different role, and I think director of rugby is something that didn't exist when he was the coach for the first World Cup cycle. And so now, and he was always a director of rugby who changed to a head coach for the last World Cup. I find it fascinating why there needs to be this complete understanding of who's in charge, and this sort of hierarchical, who's the biggest ego. I genuinely don't think Rassie and Jacques care who thinks who's in charge and who makes which calls, because I think the two of them balance each other out pretty well.
Do you think we've seen the greatest tournament we've ever seen?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah.
Just quick as
That's
that. Why?
It's just, I think the last one was the best one until this one. Purely because I think of the lopsided differences on the two sides and just how difficult the one side was, and how many unbelievably big clashes you saw. So I do believe that the quality of the rugby has been better across the board. We've seen a team like Portugal come in here, snatching a late entry by beating the US, but actually delivering something pretty special. So across the board, I think the rugby's been better. So for me, without a doubt, our best Rugby World Cup, and it's a great sign for the game.
Would you say that Portugal is the greatest story to come out? A side story,
Yeah,
as it were.
Yeah, a wonderful story. To see them win, and having created some relationships with them, and what it means to them, I really think that this will motivate them to put in a little bit more to make this team a little bit more competitive for the next cycle.
Right, let's finish off. We'll look at the game.
South Africa, to give themselves a chance and make it more than 50, needs to find a way to come up. I mean, the motivation is not. I mean, as a captain in 2007, I didn't have to say much. You don't really have to motivate someone in a World Cup final. But it's around being able to get yourself up there mentally from an intensity point of view, and how fast they can do that. Because I think what hurt them against England is that England played the game and the conditions perfectly, but got into the scoreboard early, and that rattled them. They weren't quite there in that first 20 minutes.
They weren't quite there. They weren't there. Not even quite. that shit was like, what is y'all doing? Y'all taking the game off? That's what I thought. I'm like, hey, they must be taking the game off or something because they just chilling and they just scored at the end. It's like, man, y'all 60 minutes in, it looked like y'all was about to lose. Let's just be honest. I got South Africans telling me in the comments, we pretty much resigned to this game being over at 60 minutes. Like 60 minutes, it was looking crazy, very crazy. Nah, I think it was like 16-9 or 15-8 or something like. It was looking crazy at 60 minutes. They pulled it out, but it's just that doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I have South Africa winning the World Cup before the World Cup started. That was my bet. It was South Africa. Then I think I said France, New Zealand. Or South Africa, New Zealand, France. I forgot what it was. But there's a community tab where somebody asked me that in the comments. And I told them before the World Cup started. Before I made any real predictions. And I had South Africa winning it. Before it started. But that game against England, it hurt a lot of my confidence in them. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie. That was not the intensity that they should be having at all in a semifinal matchup. At all.
First 20 minutes for South Africa will be of utmost importance on Saturday because they do not want to go in at halftime 10, 12 points behind an All Black team.
Facts.
And then I can tell you what else South Africa doesn't want them to do it either. They don't want to hold on for that last minute penalty kick. I think we're filling up the hospitals with cardiac arrest at the moment. But they have to find a way. And then the other thing we have to hope for is that physically they can maintain that for 80 minutes. You know, it's one thing to throw your body in there, and I think we've seen probably the best Eben Etzebeth over the last 7 weeks. Yeah, he's going to play a big role. I think Sia's going to play a big role in terms of his physical contribution as well. And so
They're the key players.
I get that.
I believe the key players are the Kurtley Arenzas, the Cheslin Colbys, the Damian Williamses. I think those are going to be the difference makers, personally. Outside of that, it's that green line. If they can have a really strong green wall, that's an important factor. But I think the skill players, the players on the wings, the backs and all that, those are going to be the ones that I feel like make the biggest difference. Not only offensively, but defensively. One, can you cover the All Blacks' skill guys and their backs and their wings? Can you cover them on defense? But also offensively, can you put yourself in position that when you get that ball, you find the openings and you find the right passes so that you can get points on the board as well? I think those guys, the skill guys, are the X factors. Eben and Sia are going to do what they do. Will the skill guys be able to perform at the highest level possible when it counts the most, offensively and defensively? That's my personal opinion.
That feeling. I get that feeling because when the two of them go, the rest go.
I've almost felt throughout my career, Jim, you're on the bench, not quite good enough to start. You lads have completely flipped that.
They have made a massive difference. I think the cool thing about Rassie is that he keeps on switching things up. And you're right, when we got put on the bench, it was like, you've missed a few lineouts or you've missed a few tackles and sort of teaching a lesson. Now, Rassie's coaching staff have turned the bench into the bomb squad, which is this cool thing. You're almost hoping to be selected from 16 down, because you now are going to be the saving grace of the Springbok team on the weekend, which I think is genius. And it has come to fruition. Whether by design or by default, I have no idea. But it is a massive, massive positive for South Africa. We rely heavily on that bench. And you talk about Kwagga. I mean, the other guy that's made an unbelievable difference is Deon Fourie. 38 years old.
How old is he?
38. Yeah.
He's 38.
He doesn't look 38, but 38 and the power that he's still got.
And there can't be a more destructive scrummager in the world at the moment than Oxenchair. Yeah. 4 years ago, we had the Beast tearing it up.
Tendai.
So we got rid of the Beast and we got an Ox.
Confident?
Nah, never overly confident against the All Blacks. Always hopeful. Optimistically hopeful.
Okay. What does it do
Fair enough.
to your country if they go back to back? Does it change much, or does it just cement and really nail in the foundations that the Springboks are the greatest team right now?
I think the reality is it won't change any of the things that make life challenging back home. but it'll make life a hell of a lot more bearable. And the other thing that rugby does is it galvanizes us. We have to be one of the most diverse countries in the world with so many differences across the board. And as a young democracy, there's only been one thing since we became a democracy in '94 that has been able to galvanize us, bring us together, give us hope, drink beer together, shout and scream at televisions with gay abandon, and that's the Springboks. It is the one thing that's continued to bring help. I can't think of anything else that has done as much to unite the country than the Springboks. And we've been going a long time, since 1994. So there's a huge responsibility on them. And they know that as well. And I think you've also seen the narrative. They work that narrative. They remind themselves of it all the time. And so they're not playing for themselves. They're playing for something much bigger.
The great, the powerful John Smit.
Not so sure about powerful.
Hey, that was it, man. Let's just look at some of these comments real quick, man. Where they at? The final couldn't have been scripted any better. All the best to my NZ brothers. We're honored to battle you for you lot for the cup, South Africa. Box fan, but giant respect for the All Blacks. Hope it's a great game. Great to see the respect between two countries fans here. Let's go Bach. As an All Blacks fan, I don't think either side could have asked for a better opponent. I'm glad the Springboks are going in as underdogs. We play better that way. It's not personal, it's spiritual. All Blacks by 7. 7-1 split. Let's use it this time. Let's go Bach. 2,500 votes. Perfect 50-50. It's going to be a coin flip. I was screaming for the All Blacks to beat the Irish at the top of my lungs, hoping for exactly this final. But now, and no offense, I kind of hate them again. I would love the All Blacks to win, but as a fan of rugby, you've got to go for South Africa. The way rugby unites South Africa is unreal. Different cultures in one nation for the beauty of the sport. Let's go NZ, Kia Kaha. 27-18 to the mighty All Blacks. Okay. I am a proudly South African, but to be honest, this is arguably the greatest rivalry in all of sports history, and both teams deserve to win. There's some good comments in here. Like, really? Like, that's what I'm saying. Y'all got to go in the comments and go turn up for everybody else, man. Let's get the conversation really popping over here. Make sure to go put in your votes, man, because the All Blacks only got 45%. Where y'all at? At first, it was like 60-70% All Blacks, and then the South Africans pulled all the way up. It's 55-45, 4.1 thousand votes. Let's see if we can get 5,000 votes by the time before this final happens, man. That's it. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments, man. Let's get excited for the game. It's coming on Saturday. And we also got England, Argentina tomorrow. I will try to get that reaction up tomorrow if I can. That's it, man. Love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Turn up in the comments for me. Go make sure to go turn up in the comments and talk and tell your appreciation right in here, man. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Remember to keep it real. Real is rare. Real always reaches everyone. Next time. Peace.